All right, it's 7:02 p.m. I'm going to call the meeting to order. We will go ahead and start with roll call.
Rob Caruth.
Present.
Derek Gerken.
Present.
Nancy Hopper.
Present.
Terry Lapp.
Here.
John Prouty.
Here.
Todd Schneider.
Here.
Melissa Smith.
All right, now if you'll join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, now we have the agenda changes and approval of agenda. There is one file in the table file that was added.
Will we approve the agenda as presented?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Rob Caruth.
Aye.
Derek Gerken.
Aye.
Nancy Hopper.
Aye.
Terry Lapp.
Aye.
John Prouty.
Aye.
Todd Schneider.
Aye.
All right, now is our opportunity for the audience. I don't think we have any, so we'll go ahead and move on to our special presentations and recognitions. First, we are recognizing our retiring employees. Dr. Rena Frasco.
It's an honor to recognize the following retiring employees for their years of service with Morgan County School District RE3. Mary Jane Armstrong retired with 6 years of service as a speech-language pathologist assistant. Denise Cranston retired from being a librarian for the past 32 years. Joyce Edson, finance assistant, retired after 20 years of service. Marcia Nielsen, paraprofessional for Learning Express Preschool with 10 and a half years of service. And Sam Romero, bus driver with 32 and a half years of service. All of the retirees were presented with retirement clocks and service pins. They were presented at our end of the year staff picnic on Friday, May 21st. So congratulations to all of those retiring, and thank you for your dedication to the district.
Thank you. All right, our next presentation is, we have Mrs. Esther Cooley and Mrs. Deb Lee with the Children's Center Enrollment Expansion Proposal.
Moonlight. Okay. Well, there's a flip. So if you want to hit the flip, I mean, I'm just saying. Well, see, you saw the flip. So I've come to you many times in the past 5 years that I've worked for the Children's Center again. This is by far the most exciting thing. Well, the second most exciting thing. The first was moving over to Sherman and being a part of their program and being in the new building. But we have an idea that I am really, really, really happy to share with you tonight. So we want to make the Children's Center into a support program for our school district, to be a part of the benefit package for our staff, to be a part of helping our teen parents finish their education, and to continue to be a part of our community and offering early care and learning options for all of Morgan County. So with our proposed expansion, it wouldn't change our license capacity. It would just change how many kids we care for in different parts. So we're licensed for 139 children at the Children's Center currently. That won't change in any way because we're licensed by square footage. So that was already pre-established. But we would like to increase our infants and toddler room because that's where the most need is for our staff as well as our community and our teen parents. So right now, we currently serve 5 children to 1 adult in both of those spaces, but we'd like to increase to 10 toddlers and 8 infants and 2 teachers per room. We would also like to add some CPP preschool spots to our preschool care program and offer childcare to our teen parents. With the discount for our staff, it would be a 25% discount. So a current pricing is $800 a month for infants and toddlers. For our staff, it would be $600, and it would continue to go down as children get older. But we'd also offer care year-round. Our teen parents can apply for the CCAP program, which we work with Human Services. So the majority of their bill would be taken care of through Human Services. So the teen parent program had pretty much gone by the wayside, but now there is a need again. We've taken 6 of our teen parents and walked them through our program, showed them around and told them how we can assist them, how we can be a part of them finishing their high school career and aiding them in some parenting goals. So far, 3 of them have enrolled. They haven't come to full term yet, but they have their enrollment with us. The other 3 we're still waiting to hear from, but that would be 6 of our spots in our infant room because they're all due in July.
Wow, so back that up for me.
Those are the things that we're proposing to expand, but we need your approval to do that.
That's something. One of the things that we found that last year was, as Esther mentioned, that we didn't have the need for any care for teen parents. There was no one who didn't have their parenting, or I'm sorry, their daycare issues taken care of, who were high school students. However, this year, of course, we see a different scenario. And if you remember, we had combined the licensing for the teen parent step-by-step program and the Children's Center program. So this is just the next step in how we can make this, again, a comprehensive program. And one of the things that I've been working a little bit with Esther and with the regional CPP representative, as well as her boss, I guess, is can we support yet another preschool opportunity in addition to our Learning Express program through Esther's program. There are children that are enrolled, that have been enrolled this year in the Children's Center who meet those criteria for being age eligible for our program, but for whatever reason didn't want to be enrolled in Learning Express or moved in and we didn't have room or whatever. So at this stage, we've had discussions with the regional folks from CPP, and because Esther's program is a part of the district, we'd be able to just shift some of those spots or actually request some additional spots that might be turned back to the state from other districts right after fall enrollment is kind of complete. And then we could support some of those preschool age students in an actual preschool curricularly driven program in Esther's program as a half-day situation there as well. So we're kind of excited about some opportunities for additional options for parents, as well as keeping some additional funding coming in from CPP while it at least is lasting this year. So any questions about that?
I have one question. So I remember that the step-by-step that we didn't have the need for it. However, I wasn't sure, so are you saying that it's not automatic that those teen parents get to use this program already?
There hasn't been a need. Last year,
But-
there wasn't a need.
Right, but since there is now this year, like, isn't that automatic that they get to use it, they get first choice, or is that not how it's set up?
Yes.
It is.
Yes.
Okay.
Just go back over to the mic.
Yes.
Okay. I wasn't clear on.
But Terry, they do still have to apply and enroll.
Sure.
So some of them have other options
Right.
as grandparents or family members, so.
Right. I was just confused as if you were asking for us to consider setting that back up because there is a need, or you're just letting us know that there is the need, so some will be coming back.
Yes.
Okay. Perfect.
So we'll have the same number of students, but we're gonna have 2 additional staff members because of the age distribution?
Yes.
Well, no, we would actually have more students too, in the infant and toddler room, Rob, because right now, it's 1 to 5, and we only have 1 staff member in there, but if we can expand that to 8
Yes.
for the infants
Right.
and 10 for the toddlers, that would give us some additional spots, but we would need another staff member to
To
meet
take
the
the-
ratio.
okay. Okay,
Mhm.
I get it, okay, thank you.
Mhm.
So have you done the costs, the additional costs that it's gonna take to do the program expansion?
Other than the numbers that I presented, no. No. It will cost more staffing to be able to make that happen. And it will cost on the discounted rate for staff. Because that's a significant discount, a 25%. Industry-wide, we're looking between 20 and 40% is what other people are offering as part of their benefit package.
I think this is a wonderful move, particularly for staff.
So right now
for
the
those
staff-
hours. Right.
Do they pay full price now?
Mhm.
This is a real benefit for them. A selling point in my mind, that,
Yeah, that should be.
and it should be, yeah.
I just make one comment. Esther, Mike, Brian, and I had a chance to sit down. I don't know about, seems like a long time ago now, but it probably was like a month ago, to really talk about the structure of the program, given that we found out that we actually did have more need from high school teen parents, to really recognize that that is really important to us to keep those kiddos in school. And so I think kudos to Esther, Marcy Wolf at the high school, Jaylyn. They took a bus full of girls over, did the tour, really got going on the curriculum right away to kind of reinvigorate that portion of the program that, again, like Esther mentioned, we haven't had a need for. So I think structurally moving forward, and I think now we have a better process maybe or reinstated in place on the high school's collaboration and communication with Esther at the Children's Center to make sure that we're keeping Esther up to date on teen moms that may need the care, so we can keep track of those infant spots.
Just to comment on the financial component of that, John, what we'll be doing also is consolidating a division of the Fund 22, which is our federal programs, and a carve off for the teen parent program, collapsing that together with Esther's, what we call Fund 26, her after-school daycare program, consolidating those two together. Because Esther has a new role, you have a new job, you have 2 new jobs. Daycare coordinator, now she's doing the teen parent center. We consolidate that into one position, and the district has been funding contributions to the teen parent center for a long time. So we're gonna collapse those 2 programs into one, which will consolidate the funding source for Esther. And don't know this until we see all the final numbers, but hopefully we'll actually have a reduction in what we've been contributing via the teen parent program. And since we've consolidated it now into Esther's single program, there may actually be cost saving to the district. Probably still cost the district some money, but at a lower scale than what we've been doing in the past.
Okay.
That's been as high as about 90 grand in some of our peak years of funding that program. So there's definitely gonna be some efficiencies that Esther's gonna pick up that we didn't have before. And I think we're gonna actually save money and still be able to contribute to Esther's program. So she'll have proper student-teacher matching ratios and just well-funded program, but less cost to the district.
Okay, thanks.
Well, and not to mention that we'll have those additional PPOR for those students that we can keep in school at the high school. So that would be high school level, so that'd be great.
Sounds great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Really good.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, we'll go ahead and head into our reports. Anybody from the board have anything to report? I don't think so. Okay, we'll go on to our superintendent, Dr. Rena Frasco.
Just a couple of updates this evening. As you will see for discussion and action is the 2021-2022 consolidated application. Fortunately, we kept our funding pretty much the same across all of our title programs. That will allow us to keep all of pretty much the staff that we have mostly salary and benefits in title programs, and so that will be up for your approval this evening. One of the major components of all of the other federal monies that are coming our way, we've pretty much tied out our ESSERS 1 allocation. We spent a lot of money on salaries and benefits this year. That will come to a close hopefully by the end of August as salaries go out the door, and that they've opened up the applications for ESSERS 2 and ESSERS 3. A reminder, we signed off on insurances for ESSERS 3. We had to submit those early. But ESSERS 2 is the $1,638,638. And then we got a supplemental budget of $146,000. I tied out that budget and submitted it to the state. And one of the things, just like the federal programs budget, you have to do line item by line item and really have to be creative in your narrative on how you're responding or preparing in response to COVID. And so a lot of the monies in ESSERS 2 are also salaries and benefits. That's going into the 21-22 school year. And I think we've been really fortunate, as Shelley and I have chatted. We put I think I underestimated the cost that we would have for summer work this summer, for summer school. We have 38 teachers, 5 paras, a few administrators, kind of throughout the summer doing work, and really pleased that we have a lot of things going on at every single one of our buildings, kind of throughout, again, the summer. Migrant summer school is actually paid for through migrant, so it doesn't have to be paid through with federal programs monies, but a significant chunk of, not significant, a chunk of ESSERS 2 will go toward that, and then ESSERS 3, we have to allocate 20% toward learning loss, which is about $700,000. So the ESSERS 3, Mark Clapper and I've met and talked a little bit about the HVAC. I don't get all the ins and outs of ionization and all of those things, but we're trying to come up with some figures to attach to it, so long term we can put some money into ESSERS 3 and have all of our systems hopefully updated. So we'll be working through that, and I'll put it before you before I submit that budget. Other than that, we just are summer feeding has I didn't have numbers when I emailed you on Friday, but we fed 650 kids on Thursday. They ran out of food. I think that's a good problem to have. It seems like our drive-through site at middle school was really hopping today, and we're having lunches delivered down to Riverside, to the skate park. So trying to get out in the community a little bit more and making sure that kids have equitable access to summer feeding. And then finally, just a really quick update, and I think Bev had a couple pictures. It's really cool to see already the progress on the high school project. It seemed like I went in 2 Tuesdays in a row, and within 1 week, it just had changed significantly. And so they're starting to frame in some of the pieces. If that, so just kind of scrolling through, but that is the admin office. When I was there the first Tuesday, there was nothing done in there, and then all of a sudden, there's everything. They've knocked out a whole bunch of stuff. The abatement has all gone really well. So lots of crews over there working, and like we've mentioned from the very beginning, we knew it was going to be a tight time frame, but they are working extremely hard to keep just making progress on the project. So if you're ever interested, I'm sure that Superintendent Nate Lucht would let you have a hard hat and safety glasses, and you have to wear a mask on site. But if you're ever interested in taking a little tour over there, I'd be happy to oblige. I think that's it.
Thank you. Now, our Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Assessment and our English Language Development Director, Shelley O'Connor.
I think I have like the longest title ever. I just have a little bit of access data for you this evening, just wanted to kind of share. And it's up there on the screen. Kind of give you a little bit of last year's data as well down at the bottom, so we'll look at this first. I was really pleased not knowing going into a year where we had an entire spring off and then some spotty, you know, especially at the secondary level, some spotty education with between hybrid and so on and so forth. But we still had some pretty good numbers of redesignations. The numbers overall are down about like 40. We didn't test quite as many kiddos this year as we did last year, and we knew that, especially even at the high school level. I think we tested about 24 more kids last year. And we just lost a lot of students, and a lot of those students that we lost were EL students. We tracked down a few and were able to convince them to come back to school, but many of them just went to work. They, you know, COVID happened, they didn't have to go to school, and they started working, and they didn't want to stop, and it's extremely difficult, as I'm sure you can imagine, to work a full shift, go to school full time, and not have much time to be a kid for one, but even just to sleep and eat and do, you know, anything but school and work. So we definitely lost a few kiddos to that, and a lot of them, like I said, were my EL kiddos. But some good numbers of redesignations again this spring, and you can look down at the bottom to kind of see the numbers a little bit different. They weren't a ton different in any one building. We continue to have, you know, a significantly smaller number at Green Acres than we do at the other buildings. And so one of the things as we continue to move forward and we're not battling COVID is I really do want to look at the number of TAs, the number of teachers, certified teachers that we have in the buildings that have, you know, more than double the number as in the other building that has, you know, some of the same amount of staff. So that's something that we'll continue to look at. And right now I'm towards the end of my OCR requests and trying to get those all put together. And that's been a real fun challenge to try to just to put things the way that you think that someone is asking for you to put them, I guess. I don't know how else to put that, but anyway, so almost to the end of that, and some of this data I think will support the fact that we're doing good things in buildings. We still have a good number of students redesignating, and I'm super impressed. And it hopefully we'll have teachers at the high school that will stay, so I have 2 steady teachers more than 1 year in a row, so that we don't have to continue to turn over, because that's a challenge in and of itself, the turnover. Trying to get that program up and going, and then having to start over with new teachers every year is very difficult. But any questions about any of that? That's it from me.
All right, thank you. Now our financial advisor, Mike Lee.
Anybody want to buy some Bitcoin?
Sure, I'll take 3.
Nothing really to report other than the school finance bill is now ready for the governor's signature. This is about the latest I think it's ever been, as far as it's now June 7th and we start our new year, and just a hair over 20 days and we don't even have our full funding yet, so that's an odd challenge for school districts across the state. One thing that's going to be really interesting to see as the final runs is that the final language, assuming the governor signs this, includes some transition changes for Shelley's world relative to the ELL program and the LEPs and the FEPs and the F1s and the F2s, and they're looking to do a weighting formula factor now. And what'll be interesting is whether that actually removes her direct funding for those programs, and then we just reallocate because we now have a weighted factor that comes in the School Finance Act. We have no runs, is what quote unquote that we get from CDs, and what this all translates, what our total funding is. But that'll be interesting to see how our total general fund program funding comes out with this new weighted factor and how that compares to what Shelley has to run all of her English language programs. So that'll be hopefully coming out here maybe this week, I guess, to see what our final runs are. And we'll just have to see how that goes. That's about all I have.
All right. Now, our HR Director, Brian Childress.
Thank you. And just wrapping up negotiations, also in the middle of quite a few openings still in the district. We are seeing Front Range districts, their hiring has occurred late this year, and so those postings are still coming fast and furious. So we tend to benefit from those districts tailing off and finishing up their hiring process. We haven't seen that yet, and so we're still nervously waiting and hopefully anticipating that we'll see that surge back in our talent pool as people sort of finish up in the Front Range and we get some folks looking our way. But at the moment, quite a few openings. Principals are working really hard to try to get those filled.
All right. We'll go on to our discussion items. Discussion item A is, Rena, did you want to talk more about the consolidated application? Or?
If you had time to read through the 55-page, it's a lot of just budget information, to tell you the truth, but there's a lot of cross-program questions that are really important for us to sustain. One really big highlight, I just think this is just in general, is of course our title funding is based on free reduced lunch, and I did choose going into 21-22 to utilize the 19-20 free reduced lunch count, especially because lunch was free all year, and our percentages are absolutely not accurate based off of the amount of parents who actually filled out an application. So in a lot of ways that was helpful to use that same percentage to calculate out salaries and benefits. So just one highlighted change. This is the 1 year that they allowed us to utilize a different year. Questions for me?
Okay, item B is the discussion about the new snow melt system at the high school. Whoever would like to.
Well, in a nutshell, I think you saw Mike's email probably, and you saw my email. So one of the things that unintentionally, I guess, happened in the whole design was that the snow melt system cost, the initial cost structure, and Mike, jump in anytime, was based off of like a 40-foot section of the sidewalk coming straight out the door. Well, we all know we're building the secure vestibule on the north side of the building. We also know that sidewalk tends to get can get extremely icy in the winter. And so this was a very late, sort of late to the ball game sort of thing, but was it a few weeks ago when we had one of our construction meetings, the question was asked about having the snow melt system go all the way out to the ADA parking lot, which for me, again, in my email, I put it's the accessibility feature to get all the way into the building in a system where you're not trying to wade through some icy sidewalks would be pretty important. However, that comes at what we believe is a much larger price tag than what was initially thought. And so I wish I could remember what the ROM stands for, but
Rough order of magnitude.
say that again?
Rough order of magnitude.
Rough order of magnitude. I'm learning all these construction terms. And so the design team had to go and redraw the snow melt all the way out to the ADA parking lot, and that number was approximately 200 and, I don't have that up in my email, 280?
Well, the 200 got us the complete entrance ramp up to the new entryway, plus up to the 2 doors that if you can vision that where the point of the high school north, there's a couple doors that aren't really access, but they're exit doors kind of thing. Staff uses them, gets that area, plus it comes around the corner and gets the whole landing up ramp as you park in the handicap parking lot, come up to the ramp. That would encompass all of that to those 2 doors, down to the entry ramp, and then all the way up to there. And that was the 200. The dilemma was when they were doing all this, we didn't hear any discussion about this, but there appears to be a linkage between the boiler jump size from just the entryway access and adding the handicap and the double door staff entrance requires a little bit more boiler capacity. So then theoretically, as we're understanding it, that additional boiler capacity now requires the boiler room to have a firewalling process and a greater capacity discharge exhaust pipe, which has to go clear up through 2 floors to get through the roofing, and that added another 70,000. So we're gonna be right at about $270,000 to meet all code requirements and to have the snow melt system for the entire access to the north side of the school.
And at the last meeting, I believe the drawings are supposed to be completed this week, and so then that would help give a better, more firm price after JHL gets the drawings. However, as I think through the ADA parking lot and accessibility, we wanted to make sure we got the board's feedback on that cost, increased cost.
And part of the dilemma of the handicap part, if you can envision that, that's gonna be kind of up close to the building, and that will never see the light of sun during our winter months. I mean, it just, unscientifically, Clint and I asked John to join us. This was clear back early March. I think we were looking at that, seeing where the sun was, what our elevation was, figured at December it would be lower and extended that out. Well, that'll never see sun over there at that handicap section because it's just too close up to the north side of the building, and it would always be in the shade. And there's a couple components of that. Is so far we haven't, which is knock on wood, we haven't had any oddities come up that haven't been really readily resolved, and right now we're still carrying our full contingency in our project. So the additional, the board had already approved roughly 81,000 for the snow melt in our very initial funding components, and I've priced that into our lease funding, which has now closed, by the way. The additional, about 170,000 of that could come out of that contingency or our building fund dollars, but there are definitely resources to cover that cost. We wouldn't initially do that out of contingency to where at the end of the project make sure that there isn't something that hops out of the woodwork that we don't know about. But so far, and there are, as Rena was showing in the pictures, they're through kind of the bad stuff of things that could derail the project. So
Agreed.
What's the amount of our contingency fund on that project?
it's like 260.
The good news is if we can increase our HVAC system with ESSERS 3, then we'll be golden in the whole facilities, as we met about facilities projects moving forward with Mark. I mean, there's quite a lot of projects to do, but I think some of, especially the HVAC, if we could get those things done through federal dollars, it might be helpful to the other money that we put forward for capital projects.
That's a complete remediation of this additional 170,000 if we can actually work that out for the new gym HVAC unit that the board has already approved. We've already got that in our lease financing as well. And if we're able to transition those funds, since we have not purchased the facility equipment yet, if we can qualify that under the ESSER-3 component, that gets funded out of the new federal stimulus money. That leaves $330,000 in our lease proceeds fund that either pay back on our lease early or other construction purpose. It would be restricted to construction activities, but we definitely have a significant possibility of deferring those dollars to our federal stimulus monies.
If we're building a really nice handicap accessibility area, and then it's frozen all the time, then it's not really handicap accessible. So to me, it's kind of a moot point.
Yeah.
We are waiting for the drawings, but obviously we've got to get back to the construction team on whether or not, we're going ahead full speed.
Well, and that falls totally on my shoulders because my pushing of the snow melt system was based on as I shared in my email, just the conceptual standing out on the sidewalk and looking at that and measuring, not thinking about something that doesn't exist, it's on drawings. And our construction meeting 2 weeks ago, looking at the drawings, I said, well, holy moly, we've got to incorporate this other piece in there to make this whole system safe for our students, guests, and staff. So that was my miss, but we also have design people who are supposed to be doing that instead of your district accountant. So we had a discussion about that as well, so.
Yeah, you're fired.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is disappointing that the design folks didn't pick that up. It really is, and this isn't the first disappointment there.
Yeah, so this is gonna cost us some extra dough, but I think as Nancy said, we want our access on the north side of the building safe for all of our students, guests, staff, and visitors, and so I think this is money well spent, that we should do it.
Any more questions? We're good? Okay. All right, our discussion item C is the 2021-2022 school handbooks that have been updated. And each has the memo of changes. And that will, go ahead.
I just have a question, considering the presentation we had. Does Esther have a handbook that she does with her, I'm just curious.
She does, yes, and I'm not sure where she is with that. I know that there were some things that we were discussing, she and I were discussing about how that might be affected. I'm not sure when she has.
Well, it would make sense to hold off until they knew what direction anyway, so.
And I think so. That was part of the discussion about having fee structure and that kind of thing involved, so probably she'll wait for feedback.
She did email me and said that they were working on it, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we still have that one and high school
In Lincoln.
and Lincoln. Any other questions?
The only comment I would make is we reference our website now instead of putting the policies in the handbook.
Yeah, that was in
You know, we
one
might
of them,
Want
wasn't it?
to cite specific policy maybe, or, I mean,
That's a
our
great
website's
idea.
not real user-friendly.
I like that idea. And that change was made I made that change because the policies would change during the year.
Right,
And then parents would have an argument, well, according to the handbook,
it says.
yeah.
Good
Got
point.
it.
I like that idea.
we can just maybe identify the policy we're referencing, then at least they know what we're talking about, instead of what, just look at the website.
I mean, it's always current, yeah.
It's kinda hard to wade through these policies.
Oh.
Even if you're, even if
Or
you know what you're,
even-
even if you know what
yes.
you're looking for, it's
I
kinda hard to
agree,
see.
I
Yeah.
agree. I know what you're talking about.
Okay, everybody else good? All right. We'll go ahead and move on to our consent agenda. There's the personnel action report there. If we can get approval of the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I
Second.
second, I'm sorry.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Rob Caruth,
Aye.
Derek Gerken,
Aye.
Nancy Hopper,
Aye.
Terry Lapp,
Aye.
John Proudy,
Aye.
Todd Schneider.
Aye.
All right, we'll move on to our action items. Action item A is approval of the 2021-2022 consolidated application.
I move to approve.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Rob Caruth,
Aye.
Derek Gerken,
Aye.
Nancy Hopper,
Aye.
Terry Lapp,
Aye.
John Proudy,
Aye.
Todd Schneider.
Action item B is to approve to continue on with the new snow melt system at the Fort Morgan High School, as we just talked about.
I move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Rob Caruth,
Aye.
Derek Gerken,
Aye.
Nancy Hopper,
Aye.
Terry Lapp,
Aye.
John Proudy,
Aye.
Todd Schneider.
Terry, just the only thing I would add to that, anytime we're doing anything with these high school projects, it has to go back up to the state for the permitting review. Theoretically, they've communicated to us that that's what their ROM is as far as the code compliance, but till we get that signed deal back from Division of Fire and Public Safety, we just wanna make sure that
It's in a holding pattern.
we just gotta make sure we got their blessing and there's nothing, or you have these other two things you have to do to make that compliant. So barring that, our numbers are gonna be pretty good there, but we'll keep you apprised of that permitting process.
Perfect, thanks. All right, action item D is the fiscal year 2021-2022 consolidated application for the Elementary and Secondary Education Act program funds.
I move to approve.
Second?
Rob. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Rob Caruth,
Aye.
Derek Gerken,
Aye.
Nancy Hopper,
Aye.
Terry Lapp,
Aye.
John Proudy,
Aye.
Todd Schneider.
Aye.
All right, action item E is approval of settlement offer from executive session on March 1st, 2021.
Will we approve?
I
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Rob Caruth,
Aye.
Derek Gerken,
Aye.
Nancy Hopper,
Aye.
Terry Lapp,
Aye.
John Proudy,
Aye.
Todd Schneider.
Aye.
All right, on to our advanced, oh,
I'm sorry, were we going to postpone the handbooks until the next time?
oh, no, was it
I
there?
think if we can just assume we'll make that change, we're fine.
Okay.
I just sometimes get lost and I skipped it, so I apologize.
Oh, I was asking for clarification, so.
No, that wasn't on purpose. Okay, so back to action item C is approval of the 2021-22 school handbooks that were presented tonight.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Rob Caruth,
Aye.
Derek Gerken,
Aye.
Nancy Hopper,
Aye.
Terry Lapp,
Aye.
John Proudy,
Aye.
Todd Snyder.
Aye.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you. All right, for our advanced planning, we have our special meeting at 7 a.m. on Wednesday, June 30th. And our regular meetings are July 19th and August 16th. And the first day of school is Thursday, August 19th. That's close, but yeah. So then, we will have executive session A tonight. This is executive session pursuant to CRS 24-6-402 subsection 4 subsection B for the purposes of meeting with the council for the district to receive specific legal advice, including an initial claims evaluation relating to ongoing construction defect issues. And in this executive session, we would like to invite Dr. Rena Frasco, Mr. Mike Lee, and Ms. Coulter Bump, the attorney with Kaplan and Ernst, to attend with the board.
We to go to the executive session and invite Dr. Frasco, Mr. Lee, and Ms. Bump into the executive session.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Terry, just a point of clarification. The council physically representing tonight, same firm, but will be Doug Stevens as opposed to Coulter Bump.
Oh, sure. Okay, perfect.
So just that
So we
clarification.
will,
Doug?
Doug Stevens.
Okay, I thought you said Duck.
so we will invite the attorney with Kaplan and Ernst. Okay, roll call.
Rob Caruth,
Aye.
Derek Gerken,
Aye.
Nancy Hopper,
Aye.
Terry Lapp,
Aye.
John Proudy,
Aye.
Todd Snyder.
Aye.
Okay, and then after executive session A, we will go into executive session B for determination of positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, development of strategy for negotiations, and instruction of negotiators according to CRS 24-6-402 subsection 4 subsection E. And, sorry, in that executive session, we would invite Dr. Rena Frasco, Dr. Brian Childress, and Mr. Mike Lee to attend with the board.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Rob Caruth,
Aye.
Derek Gerken,
Aye.
Nancy Hopper,
Aye.
Terry Lapp,
Aye.
John Proudy,
Aye.
Todd Snyder.
Aye.
All right, for executive session A, we'll move into the small room for telephone access.
Or we can come back here. Or the
For
doc-
negotiation. Actually,
that was
Mike, you have all the documents we need for the second executive session with you, right? We
Yes.
don't need our computers?
No,
Right,
Okay.
yeah.
I got
Thank you.
handouts.
Thank you.